I genuinely felt as if I was going to die, and I planned it to a very great detail. I was really about to jump on the 18th story. I had everything planned out. My notes, my last Instagram post, exactly how it would land on the floor. I planned out everything.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Yapper show. Woo! My name is Billy.
And I'm Singy, and today we have a very special guest, Kevin.
I'm glad to be here. I've been watching you all on socials for a while. My name is Kevin, and people just know me as Radical Kindness.
Yeah.
But I derive a lot of joy and satisfaction, I guess, from giving back.
And so today we will be yapping about mental health. Okay, so Kevin, can you tell us how did your brand Radical Kindness start?
It started as with how my other businesses started. It's just a piece of my pain. All my businesses have been a function of my pain. Radical Kindness is a combination of all, I would say. When I was 18, I had depression, handed out blank papers for math, A-levels, and then came out of that, and I had a period of mania. So I drank my own pee and I tasted my dog shit. And then I thankfully came out of that through a lot of social support, medication, combination of different things. And then I spent the next 10 years building businesses. And then 28 years old, I had a relapse. It was 100 times worse than the first. I wrote my suicidal notes, almost took my life. I was genuinely very close, and some people feel like I'm exaggerating, because nowadays it's almost trendy to juxtapose your comeback story. And you don't know how much of it is true sometimes, right? Sometimes it's just a positioning to get attention. I can tell you for a fact, right, that I genuinely felt as if I was going to die, and I planned it to a very great detail. It's incredible that I'm actually here talking to you. Right? Every single day I count it as a blessing. I came out of that with help and just 1 year of struggle with my parents' support and a bunch of stuff. And then I met this girl that in a cliche we all fell in love with. I would say that it's more of a void that was filled in a short period of time because I was so bitter and so cold and so lonely during that 1 year. I got attached to her really fast. Yeah, and I went all out to try and pursue her. I even went overseas with her. Long story short, it didn't work out. Right? And she said that, Kevin, I don't think we should meet anymore. She, in a way, stopped me from pursuing her. I think at that point of time, it seemed very cruel. But looking back, right, that was the kindest thing she could have done. Because she was very mature, she didn't drag it. I broke down in my room, and I was so afraid that I'll go back into that state again. I begged God, I said, please don't let me go back into that state again. And in that moment, I heard a voice that said, it's easy to love when it's convenient. It's easy to love when you're happy and everything's good. The essence of true love is to love despite feeling broken, despite feeling shattered. He said, this is a test for you. Right? And I took it. I took the test. 3 days later, I started Radical Kindness with a Canva logo that I made in 10 minutes. I just started with no idea, just a camera, a bit of doubt, a volunteer videographer, no idea how to edit stuff, but thinking, will I ever make it with this? And 1 year on, right here. Yeah, so it's incredible. It's just incredible, the money that I raised, the money that I've given out, what I'm able to do now. And it's just a minor lesson for all of you. And this starting off with mental health. Yes, mental health conditions are seen as a state, but I want you to know that it's not a label that's defining. It is just a temporary state that you can get out of.
So actually, what gave you the idea of holding a board? Was it from other content creators? Or?
Yeah. So not to make this into a content class, right? But virality duplicator is the best way to do things, right? You look at the overlap between what's already viral out there. You find overlap between I would say, your radical factor, your X factor, right? What makes you unique? What makes you stand out? You find the overlap and you do it. So for me, it's that I always wanted to do kindness content. Mr. Beast was one of my inspirations. I've always wanted to do it. I just never had the platform, nor the money to do it. I spent 10 years building that. So when Radical Kindness started out, I already knew that I was going to duplicate this creator called Zachary. He did it in the US before. He held up this sign, if you have depression, mental health, come and give me a hug. But I redesigned it. I said that, hug a bit. Singapore's context, right? Hug is a bit too much. So I said, never mind, just come and have a chat. So I started on the way. I also did another series where I bought people anything they want. I asked them for money, I buy them anything they want. Once that goes viral, you double down on that, you build a brand, and then you just, keep going.
So since you're very open with sharing about your story and your struggles, right? Do you think that sharing has been a way of healing for you?
Oh, for sure. I think Radical Kindness, people see it as a way of me giving back and, sometimes fame. But I think the reality is, if you really empathize with my story, if you walk a mile in my shoes, you realize that this is the most normal thing for me to do. Because at October 2022, I broke down in the car. I tried everything, right? 7 to 8 pills a day, antipsychotics, anti-anxiety, antidepressants, mood stabilizers. I was on $30-40 of pills a day. I tried everything, cold therapy, meditation, nothing worked. And so I broke down and said, I begged God, I said, if you help me to get out of this, right, I promise that I'll be the most kindest, loving version of myself you ever see. And I came out of there, I said, I have to keep that promise. So this is really just me keeping a promise and me saving myself.
Are you still going through this, or?
I think mental health exists on a spectrum, right? I'll give you a deeper, nuanced understanding of it. Mental health is both physiology and psychology. So physiology is your chemistry in your body, right? If your dopamine receptors or whatever are not working well, your mood is switched. Psychology is your belief systems, right? If you grow up thinking your worth is dependent on your grades, ability to achieve other people's opinions of you, then that will fluctuate when the variables fluctuate. So it's a combination of psychology and physiology that affects your mental health. It's just that when the extreme, either extreme goes to like 100, and then people break down, people get into a long-term state or harder state to get out of. So in this current context, right, if I define it as my productivity and my competency being crippled, then no, I'm not facing it on the same scale. But if you define it as a spectrum, then yes, I do face certain issues with sometimes psychology. I don't feel good enough. It's physiology sometimes why I work so hard that I get anxiety. But if you give me a classification, right, now I'm maybe like 8.5 upon 10. Back then, right, was minus 10,000 upon 10.
So let's be real, men in general don't really express their feelings. You won't actually go and hear a guy come up to you and tell you like, hey bro, I feel like crying today. So why do you think so many men still suffer in silence?
Let me ask you a question, right? When you see someone like that, be honest here, okay, just be honest. On social media, you see someone crying a little bit about a situation, complaining about certain things. What's your impression?
Not to vilify the guy, but I do feel that, not just for men, right? But even if I see girls crying on social media, I will also feel a bit of the ick. But that's just personally me, like I wouldn't air my feelings out like that. But maybe that's the way for them to, express their emotions lah. But personally, for me, I wouldn't. Yeah, not just men, but also women.
I think physiologically, biologically, right, you can argue, right? We can sit here and argue about how society has changed and over time, and that's a fact, right? Feminism has given equal power. I mean, obviously it's not equal now, but I'm saying more equal compared to the past. But the reality is that biologically speaking, we are attracted to resources, strength, the ability to provide. Because if you cannot provide for yourself, how are you going to provide for my family? Right? How are you going to be a protector? So biologically, right, we already see it as a weakness. Yes, we can empathize. Yes, a woman can be kind and empathize. But empathizing and seeing it as valuable is another thing. But I would say this, that don't express your feelings, but selectively. I think vulnerability is important, but you need to be selectively vulnerable to the right people in the right context. If you're doing a work setting, for example, it may not be the best. Yeah, because it causes you more vulnerability. Someone else might want to take your position. People are self-interested. So be selectively vulnerable.
Okay, then for you guys, right, as males, do y'all feel pressured to man up because of society?
I guess it is the social patriarchy that they put on us ever since we were born, literally. Like, you know how my dad, when I was young, he would say things, not even my dad, and actually every other guy or even girls, right, that you look up to, or adults, right, they'll tell you like, 男子汉大丈夫流血不流泪, that kind of thing. You're a man, man up, don't have to cry for what? So it builds a bit of pressure on you, like, yeah, actually, is this how a male should behave? How a guy should behave, that kind of thing. When I was young, I come home, if I cannot bully or anything, right, I won't have the guts to go and speak up, when I was primary school like that. So I was very small, very young, I don't have to go and speak up. I don't have to come home and tell like my dad, like, I cannot bully in school or that kind of thing. Or somebody make fun of me the whole time. Because honestly, they'll just belittle it. Even not say my dad, even the teachers, when you go and complain to your teacher and say something like, Aaron keep on disturb me in class, every day keep on disturb me, keep on make fun of me. What is the teacher gonna do? Then you cover your ears, don't listen, little bit of thing you want to complain to me. Yeah, honestly, it's like puts people down, especially for guys, because it's telling us like not to bring up your things,
I have no issue with feminism, right? Equal voting, equal rights. I think that's very valuable to society, the first few waves. But I think it's come to a stage where now feminism is weaponized and it's hijacked to say that all men are trash, and you have very, very glaring double standards. And then guys will push back with extreme rape culture, and then it becomes this gender war thing, which I hate, by the way. I hate anything, not just extreme feminism or extreme rape culture. I just hate anything that stifles empathy and crucifies balanced thinking. Because you need balanced thinking. Yes, women will say, men are the one that created this. They are the one that set the stage for this. Right? I never say you cannot be vulnerable. Right? You guys are the one that set your expectations on yourself. But the reality is this. For him to even attract your attention in the first place, to even be in your space, you need to be stoic. You need to be a provider. You need to be a certain level of competence before she would even look at you. Then she can say, okay, let me give you a break once in a while. But if you're crying, you're always sad, she will not even look at you. Okay, maybe she'll look at you, but she wouldn't be attracted or affiliated with you very closely. You get my point? So therein lies the pressure of guys to man up. Because socially, financially, they'll be at a disadvantage. Dating market, they'll be at a disadvantage if they do not display aspects of stoicism. So the pressure is very real. And I think that's why you have this mental health crisis, because if you're average, you are practically invisible. And I can say this for a fact, because I've been on both extremes, right? I have been objectively, right, about 1% in social influence, I guess, as well as financial income against people my age. At the same time, I've also been absolutely broken to the point where I cannot function. Like I'm about to die. And in those moments, I can tell you that nobody cared. Even my closest people, my business partners, had to move on in their lives. And I realized, right, how cold and bitter the world is. Or more practically speaking, if I don't have social utility, even more so as a man, I'm invisible.
So with that, right, do you all think that men have it tougher than girls?
I would hesitate to compare, because I think if you start comparing, the woman will say, oh, but childbirth is so painful, oh, the patriarchal system oppresses us, oh, have you seen guys that gaslight us? And then you have guys on the other end that are saying, oh, these girls with high standards, these blah blah blah, they start listing shit out. The reality is that both sides need to empathize with each other's reality, and more importantly, an overlapping reality. Because we're all Singaporeans, we're all humans. We have overlapping reality.
So, do you think society has improved where people are less judgy about mental health?
Personally, I feel that compared to like the olden times, like our grandfather, grandmother generation, right, I think it has become less stigmatized. There's a lot more talk about mental health. There's a lot more like help available. Therapy is not as shunned upon compared to last time. But I definitely feel like it is still a bit of a taboo topic to talk about to people. Yeah, so we're not there yet, but I feel like we're getting there lah. Just need to talk about it more. Yeah.
I feel like maybe we can talk to the people of our generation and younger. Sometimes if you talk to like the older people, right, like the boomers, literally, it's a bit hard to talk to mental health about them.
Because they don't believe it exists.
Yeah. It's not, maybe even if they believe it exists, right, they don't believe that it's that bad. They'll put it down to a certain level, like, that kind of thing.
Honestly, I think even our parents' generation don't view it as strongly as us. Yeah. Because there's moments where certain things happen, like maybe my family or something, right? Then my parents will very easily brush it off, like, oh, like that also want to be sad, or like, oh, like that also depressed. Or how really got depression, may look like all along he's fine, that kind of thing, So it's like the idea of mental health is still very, very new to them. Like they don't really understand it.
And this will lead to generational trauma, to be honest. If you just bring down to generation, then one fine day one of them get depression, how?
It's very tricky to talk about, because I'll give you different perspectives, okay? So as a society, for sure, there's more awareness. Life is a feedback. Society is a feedback. And when the fear becomes too strong, right, you're forced to take action. Mental health was an issue for years. For decades, it was building up really. When you stratify kids, when you classify them, you stratify them, you are inevitably putting tremendous pressure on their mental health to succeed. To the point where the RVHS thing happened. And then this whole conversation on mental health, because all of a sudden, shit, this is a major event. And then it was seen as a mental health issue and everything, right? He was struggling and everything. Then a lot of RV people say, I'm not surprised because of the way RV conditions us. So then there's this whole conversation about mental health. The government just puts tremendous resources into mental health awareness. My training company goes to schools. I deliver mental health and resiliency programs. So I know intimately what our teachers have to go through. I'm telling you, they put in tremendous resources. Now there's peer support, there's everything. Mental health compulsory lessons for them.
So they wait until something happened already then.
Yeah, but society is a feedback. When it's strong enough, then you take action. In fact, life is a feedback, right? So in this case, right, mental health is the same thing, right? Society as a whole moves towards more awareness. Then now you have the other extreme, right? With more awareness, people are going to use it to their advantage. People who are chowking. Yeah, basically when you sign up for the army, right, the number of doctor visits will increase. Psychiatric visits will increase because it's correlated to the number of people that are trying talking. So then you have people who are very skeptical now. Another aspect of this is this. My parents, right, were the most empathetic, kindness, loving individuals you ever meet. But when I faced depression, even they could not understand. They could not, and they were very confused. Like, why you want to kill yourself, Kevin? You have so many things. There's so many things in front of you. You just could not understand it. And here's the thing, okay? I would say that it's impossible for someone to understand depression unless they've gone through it. Anyone who says they empathize is lying. It's just like how I cannot empathize with you being a woman, completely. I cannot empathize with giving birth. I can try to. I can do immersion exercise. I can carry your weight and walk around. But will I ever have the same experience as a woman? No. In the same way, people will not have the same experience as someone who's going through depression. That's why it's very hard to empathize fully. And people will always have a certain degree of skepticism.
Okay, then with that, right, do we all think that workplaces should implement mental health days leave?
Yeah, it really is, right? But the thing is that people are still skeptical about it, and it depends on the workplace. You can argue and say mental health. But the reality is that when $1 million project is in front of you, you have only a certain amount of leeway before you get fired. Because people are at stake, clients are at stake. You can tell the client today, man, you got a shoot to finish. You can tell the client, hey, today I feel like my anxiety a bit high. You think they give a shit? They don't. They empathize with you maybe once, twice, and then they're like, okay, let me get a different person.
I feel like what you say, right? There should be a mental health day leave, but people are gonna take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Confirm 1 or 2 chowking warriors, right? Will like, I say that today.
You can, but I think in SME it's easier to implement. In MNC might be difficult. I mean, I work with people who actually consult in this area. There are ways to put in systems to ensure that the relationship, the culture is very open. So when people do something, right, you know that, okay, they actually really need help. And there are cases whereby the bosses are more empathetic and give them a bit more flexibility in working from home, whatever, and they still deliver and execute. For sure, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that one thing is right, one thing is wrong. Whatever your context is, whether you're a boss, whether you're an employee, you got to look at the context in which you operate and decide what's best for you.
Okay, so now let's talk about dating, right? So has your mental health ever been one of the reasons for your struggles in relationships?
My mental health has resulted in my relationships in an interesting way. It is my burden that I carry that attracts people to me. And ironically, people will also face similar stuff. So the only people that I've been so-called romantically involved with are people that either relied on me for support or I've relied on them for support or vice versa. For me, in my first and only girlfriend, I was 18, she was 16. And it turns out that she had anorexia. Very talented individual, right? Painter, smart, intelligent. But because of that, her parents forced her to paint because she won a competition for I think like 30K or something. So she had a lot of pressure, and then that caused a lot of issues. She got bullied in school, became anorexic. Long story short, it was just a very, very explosive relationship where we were young, right? And we were both mentally unsound. It's the kind where you shout at each other, you want to kill each other one day, right? And then the next day you make out aggressively. It's that kind of hot and cold thing that makes it special. In some sense, I loved it. I craved burden. You see, I needed it at that point of time because that made me feel like a savior. You understand? One thing about guys, right, is that
You got savior complex.
yeah, they feel happy and they feel satisfied when they're providing for someone and someone's relying on them.
Damsel in distress.
Yeah, it's like men, if they can show a woman things that they're not seen before, they get a lot of satisfaction from them.
But do you think that relationship was healthy or not?
Of course, it's not healthy. Like, it's not going to work out. Like, everyone knows it's not going to work out. But the thing is that our relationship is meant to work out at that age. I mean, all the kids get into relationships at these ages nowadays, right? And you know that there's a very low chance of them ending up with your first love. If you look at it from statistically speaking, right? But it's okay, life is like that. Relationships are just like a lesson, and just a very good lesson for you. Because I feel that relationships are one of the best ways for you to evolve, and it's a mirror to you.
But do you feel that, right, a person should be mentally sound before entering a relationship?
It depends. It's not in my position to say whether it should or should not, right? It depends on the outcome, right? If they want just like aggressive sex, then go for it. It depends on the outcome. Everybody has different outcomes, and just choose whatever outcomes there is, right? There's no should or should not. Now, if you want to date to get married, to get whatever, and the typical norm, have kids and whatever, then yes, I would argue that you need some sense of emotional maturity first. Yes, I would argue that you need to have a certain level of stability before you decide to enter a relationship. But when you meet someone, let's say today, I like really, right? I talk to him, I'm attracted to him, he gives me a hug, he flirts with me. You think I can resist, man? Or I tell you, oh, okay, let me be ready before a relationship. You po pian what? You have to like, shit. You know what I mean? Let me do this and figure it out later. Only people like of a certain degree of discipline and like very strong goals and clarity can give up on that. And I have over the years given up on potential relationships because I want to focus on career, because I'm relentless in my goals. As a result of that, I have to let them go. And when I look back at it, I'm like, tears stream down your face. I don't regret it. Would I say that I could have worked with them to build my future? Maybe. And I feel like at this stage in my life, I might be more open to have someone with me to work on my goals together. Also out of necessity, I'm not getting any younger.
Okay, now let's play a quick game called Fact or Myth. So I will read out a statement regarding mental health, and then you guys will have to decide whether it's a fact or it's a myth.
Alright.
I like games.
Okay, first sentence. People with depression just need to think positively. Fact or myth?
Actually, I feel like it varies, but I cannot say anything because I don't have depression.
The politically correct answer will be myth, right? But the reality is it depends. In fact, like if you have depression and you label people as depressed completely and permanently depressed, that could be a crippling thing as well. If I label you and that limiting belief stays with you forever, you feel like you can never think positive. You'll never think positive. You can still think positive, but not in the immediate moment.
I think it's a myth because you tell them to chill out, bro. It's not like they're gonna get out of that depression. You're not gonna like, hey, think positive lah, bro. Drink water, you'll be better tomorrow. Wow, magically tomorrow they become better. No, it doesn't do that one. So what is it? Is there an answer?
It is a myth, okay, because mental health conditions are complex and it's not just solved by thinking positively. Of course, yes, thinking positively is one of the ways, but there's deeper.
Yeah,
deeper
it could be a treatment, not a cure.
Correct,
Yup.
correct. Okay, next sentence. Stress can be good for you in small doses. Fact or myth?
Actually, since young, I've always thought I've been conditioned to think that it is a fact.
Stress is not just needed, it's necessary for growth. Specifically eustress. There's a term for it, it's called eustress. So that's good stress, but beyond a certain point it becomes distress. The goal is to find that line between eustress and distress. Everybody's stress threshold is a bit different.
Yes. Okay, so the answer is, it is a fact. So short-term stress can boost focus and motivation, but chronic stress is harmful. So it's like what he said, it's a scale lah. Yes.
Okay, I got 2 questions right already.
Nice.
You can write books in.
Third sentence. You can have anxiety and still appear calm. Fact or myth?
Of course, that's a fact, man, bro. I'm the number 1 actor, yeah. I can have anxiety, and bro, I can show you my face or like nothing, stoic. I'm like no reaction.
Yeah. It's like a duck call. It's calm on the surface, but it's waddling underneath. That's what anxiety feels like to a lot of people.
Okay, yes. So it is a fact, and many people mask anxiety well. It doesn't always look the same. So there are moments where people with anxiety, you can tell, like you can really tell that they are having a breakdown, but there are also times when you really can't tell, like they just look completely fine. Next sentence. Burnout is just being tired. Fact or myth?
What is burnout? Can you define it? I think if I were to look at how it's defined in the dictionary and the common language, is when you come to a point where you have no motivation to work, you're languishing, and you just can't function. Like you just stop.
Correct. So it's like emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion.
If tired is just physical, right, then burnout does not equal to tired.
Yeah, so it's I guess in this regard, like what Billy said, it's a myth because it's a different spectrum, different scale. Like being tired, you sleep, you wake up, you're okay already. But burnout, you still wake up, you still feel shit. You know, like really shit. Like to the point where you're questioning your whole life. And people, it's not uncommon for burnout to happen, especially in corporate, especially in certain professions where OT is a must. People can get really burned out.
Correct. It is a myth. So burnout is chronic and it can actually affect health and productivity. Next sentence. Social media can affect your mental health. Fact or myth?
I think that's a fact. It's very easy to get influenced by people. If you watch a depressing video of someone telling you can never do it in life, you can never make it, that will also affect your mental health.
Yeah, I would say that it can be positive for you if you curate your feed very well. But very few people can curate their feed very well.
Especially with the toxic social media these days.
They just don't, because FYP is, it's not. So largely, social media has been quite detrimental to people's mental health.
Okay, yes, so it is a fact that social media can affect your mental health. So like you said, yeah, I also agree that it can affect you both positively and negatively depending on how it's used. Okay, next sentence. Men don't struggle with mental health as much as women. Fact or myth?
It's a myth.
If we don't want to compare.
Yeah, let's not compare. Everyone faces mental health struggles.
And it's a fact that men commit suicide more than women, 3 times more. But that's also because they don't have as strong social circles. You don't have as strong social groups. And that's a reality. And some people would argue that because women have stronger circles to support them, they are less vulnerable. Yeah, but the reality is, like I said, they also face their own self-challenges, like postnatal depression.
Okay, yes, it's a myth. And men often under-report due to stigma also.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so that's why it's recorded that maybe women suffer with it more, but actually men do suffer with it, but it's just that they don't really report it or tell people. Okay, last sentence. Listening to sad music when you're sad is bad for your mental health.
Ooh.
Fact or myth?
Actually, wow, this one...
I feel like no, it can help lah. Like it's an empathy thing, but also it can harm people. But I would say more help, to be fair, because look at Linkin Park. I feel like their songs have saved a lot of people's lives because you just feel like someone understands. It's a cathartic feeling.
Wow, I used to think that it is bad for your mental health when you're sad, but I don't know why the more you are sad, right, the more you want to listen to a sad music. I guess you can relate to the music. You're like, wow, someone else also feeling this way. That kind of thing. But last night I always scold my friend because I think he was 17, he got his first girlfriend, then after that he just broke up, right? Then he keep listening to all the sad J Chow songs. Then he like damn sad, then he damn cry. Like, you listen for what? You gonna listen to like Happy by Pharrell Williams. Yeah.
Alright, and the answer is it is a myth. So yeah, for many people, listening to sad music when they are sad actually helps to process emotions and feel understood. So like what y'all said lah, y'all feel seen, y'all feel heard, y'all feel related.
Lastly, if you could give one piece of advice to those struggling with mental health, what would it be?
I empathize, it is difficult. I wouldn't empathize if you fully, I can't. And I would say that don't expect everybody to or anybody to fully empathize with you. But just also know that as dark and cold and stormy the night is, eventually the sun will rise the next day. You just have to cling on to hope. Whatever means of hope that source is, just cling on to it with whatever you have. I'm living proof sitting here that is possible. I can genuinely feel from the bottom of my heart that this is a miracle. Less than a year and a half ago, I was really about to jump on the 18th story. I had everything planned out. My notes, my last Instagram post, exactly how it would land on the floor. I planned out everything. And now I'm sitting in front of you with what you perceive and what you see. It's just testament that it's possible. And if you cling on long enough, I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I believe that one day your scars will become your stars, your pain will become your purpose, and your mess will become your message. So don't give up.
Yes,
okay,
very,
beautiful.
Very good. Wow. I also strongly believe that if you really feel like you need to get it out your chest, right? Please talk to someone. Please get help. Please look out for, I don't know, just talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to anybody that would listen. Get help, get therapy. I think it helps. Yeah.
And that's it for this week's episode of the Yapper Show. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Do let us know in the comment section below what other topics you want us to yap about and who you want us to invite to our Yapper Show.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!